The one thing that we did discuss going into this week's SmackDown was the fact that the injury, quote unquote, to Big Cass was going to provide SmackDown Live going into Money in the Bank a sense of unpredictability. Everybody was excited, including me, to see Daniel Bryan versus Samoa Joe in the main event of SmackDown Live. The only thing that I did not like about the announcement of that match heading into last night's show was the fact that that match is too big to have happen in the main event with no build. My brother even said, "Why are they having this match? I figured the first time that these two would be wrestling would be for something a little bit more important." The words that he said were, and I quote, "This is a world title match." And that's exactly what Daniel Bryan and Samoa Joe is. A lot of people questioned why I said I would have Samoa Joe win against Daniel Bryan if it did happen one-on-one. And the reason why I mentioned Samoa Joe winning this match before SmackDown even took place last night was for one reason only. And that's because Daniel Bryan and The Miz, I would keep away from each other until the time is right. You need a reason for them to cross paths again, and The Miz winning Money in the Bank should be that reason. There was also another reason that I brought to the table about why WWE is not really pushing Daniel Bryan the way everybody expects WWE to push Daniel Bryan. SmackDown Live was gifted a A-list WWE superstar. The WWE was gifted the face of the company back after 3 years. Why aren't they pushing him like they missed him? There's a reason why Daniel Bryan isn't being pushed the way you expect WWE to push him. There's a reason why Daniel Bryan did not qualify for Money in the Bank. And it's not the reason that I gave you with The Miz. I'm just giving you my reason per storyline why I would keep them away and why I wouldn't have Daniel Bryan in Money in the Bank. But the reason why Daniel Bryan isn't being pushed on WWE television is because his contract is up on September 1st. And Daniel Bryan has not signed a new contract with the WWE. Daniel Bryan's contract not being signed, or Daniel Bryan not renewing a contract with the WWE, is causing the most unpredictability out of everything. So until we get solid, concrete news that Daniel Bryan is re-signed with the WWE, continue to expect to see what you're seeing on SmackDown Live heading into the summer. I just hope that Daniel Bryan does re-sign with the WWE because that Miz feud has money written all over it. Big Cass made his return last night, and it looks like Big Cass worked the entire WWE universe, or I should say WWE worked the entire WWE universe with Big Cass and this injury. Apparently, he got injured overseas when WWE was touring Europe, and they played up the fact that he was hurt overseas, and they kept it going per storyline, and they had him not show up on SmackDown Live. People were wondering what was going on. There were reports of Big Cass having backstage heat. Big Cass comes out on crutches last night and claims that the Money in the Bank qualifier is his and that it was wrongfully taken from him. He mentioned that Paige changed the match to Big Cass versus Samoa Joe and that Daniel Bryan does not belong anywhere near a Money in the Bank qualifier match because he had already lost. But Big Cass came back and put himself in this qualifier match, revealed that he was cleared, and WWE, instead of giving us Samoa Joe versus Daniel Bryan, they gave us Samoa Joe versus Daniel Bryan versus Big Cass in the main event of SmackDown Live, which I did not mind. I did not mind this match last night in the main event. One, it kept us from getting a world title match for free again on SmackDown Live because Joe and Bryan deserve a proper build, especially after Joe's promo last night. And Big Cass being in that match, it made him look good. Whereas a match with either one of those guys, it probably wouldn't have been as good as it was last night. Big Cass looked good in that match with Samoa Joe and Daniel Bryan. He looked dominant. He looked like he belonged because he didn't have to carry half of the workload. You know, he didn't rely on Samoa Joe carrying most of the workload. He didn't rely on Daniel Bryan carrying most of the workload. He got a little piece of the pizza pie from everybody. And it ended up making Big Cass look at least somewhat dominant, at least better than what we've seen from him at Backlash when he was in a one-on-one match with Daniel Bryan. But the right man won last night. The right man won that match last night. And a lot of people like to reach out to me on Twitter, JD. Your ending for the Daniel Bryan Samoa Joe match that you pitched ended up happening anyway, even in this triple threat match. The right man won. And the right man won because Bryan's contract is not re-signed, and Bryan and Miz should be kept away from each other. And with Big Cass coming back, now we're probably going to get Big Cass versus Daniel Bryan at Money in the Bank, which I don't really have any interest in seeing at all anymore. But at least Samoa Joe is in Money in the Bank, and the right man is in that 8-man ladder match, which makes him an odds-on favorite. I don't expect Joe to win it. He's going to come close. I expect him to look dominant. But I expect the winner of the Money in the Bank to come from the SmackDown side, and I expect Mr. Money in the Bank to be The Miz, because that's where your money program is. Joe doesn't need Money in the Bank. You know, a lot of people are jumping on the Samoa Joe bandwagon. I've been on the Samoa Joe bandwagon for many, many years now in WWE. Joe does not need Money in the Bank. Daniel Bryan didn't need to be in Money in the Bank. Daniel Bryan's position is climbing and clawing his way back to a WWE title, and Daniel Bryan's story is being, slighted at every which way, in every twist and turn. Daniel Bryan's story is the one that they're telling with Roman Reigns right now, but with Roman Reigns, it's not believable. With Daniel Bryan, that's the right man to tell that story, and The Miz is going to be a perfect partner for Daniel Bryan. So he doesn't need to be in Money in the Bank. Joe doesn't need Money in the Bank. Joe is already a number one contender on SmackDown Live. Honestly, look at SmackDown Live, and who else on that roster is going to challenge for the WWE Championship when that match is over? Or when a winner is finally, awarded in this feud between Nakamura and AJ Styles. Who else is there for number one contender? Joe is already the number one contender, whether you like it or not. Wins and losses don't matter. Joe is already staking claim at that title. He has done so for several weeks. He is the man. He doesn't need Money in the Bank. Same thing with Braun Strowman. I don't see Braun Strowman winning Money in the Bank because he's the biggest guy in there, because he's the most dominant guy. Can you picture Braun Strowman winning Money in the Bank and pulling an Edge, or pulling a Dolph Ziggler, or pulling a Miz? The Money in the Bank briefcase is for guys like The Miz, who want to capitalize when their opponent, when their enemy is in a weakened state. That's who the Money in the Bank briefcase is for. I can't see Braun Strowman cheating out a victory for a world title at Money in the Bank, or with the Money in the Bank briefcase. That's not what the briefcase is for that type of guy. Braun Strowman's going to get a match, he's going to dominate, and he's going to win it legitimately. Same thing with Samoa Joe. Joe is only in there to add a heavy. But Joe does not need to win Money in the Bank. Bryan didn't need to be in Money in the Bank. These guys are playing their roles. The Money in the Bank winner is going to be The Miz. That is my prediction for Mr. Money in the Bank. But what we seen last night, I enjoyed everything we got last night. The right guy is in the match. Bryan's position is right where it should be. I don't really care for Big Cass and Daniel Bryan at Money in the Bank, which I assume we're going to get. It's not really announced yet. The only thing that boggles my mind, and the only thing that I question right now, is what they're going to do with Jeff Hardy, because I had it laid out nicely. If Samoa Joe and Daniel Bryan did happen one-on-one, Joe would get in Money in the Bank, and I would have Daniel Bryan challenge Jeff Hardy, or the other way around. Jeff Hardy challenged Daniel Bryan, put the United States Championship on the line. What does Jeff Hardy do at Money in the Bank? Which makes me worry that we might get Andrade Cien Almas challenging for the United States Championship because of a reason of that he deserves a shot because of where he came from, or he wants a challenge. And I can picture WWE booking that on the fly with no build just to put the United States Championship on the Money in the Bank card. That's not something I want. That's not something I really want to see at Money in the Bank. Or we can do a Shelton Benjamin versus a Jeff Hardy at Money in the Bank, which, again, there really isn't any build because Shelton Benjamin hasn't been on TV. So it looks like WWE is really at a stoppage here. They're at a loss with Jeff Hardy. What's the United States Championship match going to be at Money in the Bank? I had it laid out perfectly. You know, Big Cass being in the main event last night, I didn't really mind it because I didn't want to see Joe versus Bryan. But Big Cass coming back and being cleared from this injury, it kind of took that match away from us, which I'm glad. But it also makes things a little bit, you know, up in the air. It leaves a lot of situations up in the air. With Big Cass being out and not being in this match, it actually made the landscape a little bit more entertaining and a little bit more unpredictable. Now that Big Cass is back, it just kind of you know, feels like, you know, WWE doesn't know what's going on, and we're actually going to get, you know, a worse situation at Money in the Bank than the one that I laid out for you, which was a little bit more entertaining and a little bit more unpredictable. So we'll see what happens at Money in the Bank, but Samoa Joe is in the men's Money in the Bank ladder match. Don't expect him to win it, but we'll see what happens. It should be an entertaining match nonetheless. We had Mandy Rose. This goes to show you that there really wasn't anything outside the main event on SmackDown Live. Mandy Rose. A lot of people I seen on social media, on Twitter, complaining about Mandy Rose and Asuka. The one thing that I seen was Mandy Rose, I guess, outperforming Asuka last night. You know what? I'm going to be a little sensible here. Number one, Mandy Rose is actually growing on me, slowly but surely. You know, I poked fun at Mandy Rose early on that she's Eva Marie, and Eva Marie bot, and Eva Marie clone, Eva Marie 2.0. That's not really the case, okay? She's a lot more attractive than Eva Marie, and she's a lot better wrestler than Eva Marie. But Mandy Rose getting the best of Asuka for the majority of that match last night, I did not mind. At least, they didn't go the Eva Marie route when Eva Marie and Asuka battled in NXT. Did you remember that when Eva Marie took Asuka to a 12-minute match and Eva Marie dominated most of the match? Now, that's not believable at all. The match should have not been 12 minutes. It should have been 1 minute with Eva Marie getting destroyed. Nobody believed Eva Marie was going to take Asuka to the limit, but WWE tried to tell a story there, and it failed miserably. Now, if they did the same thing that they did last night with that match, then it would have been a little bit more believable. What they did last night is they didn't put Mandy Rose over Asuka in some wrestling clinic. Mandy Rose didn't outperform Asuka, you know, on her own. Asuka made her entrance, and Sonya Deville attacked her during her entrance with the mask on, with the robe on. She got attacked from behind. So what that does to opponent is it throws them off their game a bit. And I'm going to think sensible here, and I'm going to put the pieces together. Asuka was attacked during her entrance, unsuspected, blindsided, and that gave Mandy Rose the upper hand for most of the match because of that one instance. Everybody was complaining, and nobody really, you know, thought that, Sonya Deville took advantage of Asuka in the beginning of the match before the bell rang. That's why Mandy Rose was taking advantage of Asuka for the majority of the match. People made it seem like Mandy Rose was out wrestling Asuka on SmackDown Live, or WWE was using Asuka to intentionally get Mandy Rose over. That wasn't the case at all. You know, Mandy Rose, we got the best of both worlds. Mandy Rose got to show us some of her ability against a weakened Asuka, and Asuka was weakened by Mandy Rose's partner, Sonya Deville. This is what people were complaining about last night, but nobody thinks. Nobody really attributes Sonya Deville attacking Asuka for the reason Mandy Rose looked good last night. So I'm going to give WWE a pass on that one. I don't think they're burying Asuka. I don't think that WWE is ruining Asuka. For all I hope Asuka wins the SmackDown Live Women's Championship at Money in the Bank, because Carmella is terrible. She's awful. I don't believe in Carmella. Carmella is a terrible wrestler. She's not even a good heel. She's annoying. And in a bad way, not in a good way. Asuka winning the title sets up so many more possibilities going on into the summer. We get to see possibly Asuka versus Charlotte 2, which I felt was a little shortchanged at WrestleMania. I'd love to see that at SummerSlam. I don't think the women's Money in the Bank is going to come from the SmackDown side. I think we're going to see the women's Money in the Bank on the Raw side. I think either Ember Moon or Natalya is going to win the women's Money in the Bank. So having Asuka win the title and then build towards another match with Charlotte at SummerSlam, I think that is the way to go. I think that is the way to go. And with the Monday Night Raw Money in the Bank on the women's side, you know, you could make a point for Ember Moon or Asuka winning that Money in the Bank. Not Asuka, Natalya. Because if Natalya wins, then you got that whole Ronda Rousey best friend storyline and Natalya betraying Ronda Rousey. Ember Moon, you know, she's a babyface. Maybe the briefcase doesn't fit her. Maybe you don't see Ember Moon cashing in a Money in the Bank, just like I don't see Braun Strowman or Samoa Joe cashing in Money in the Bank. But she is a newcomer, and the Money in the Bank briefcase is made for newcomers like Ember Moon. It makes careers. That's the directive and the initiative that they've been pushing on television. It makes careers. It's a life-altering moment. I could see Ember Moon winning Money in the Bank. Why not? I could see Ember Moon becoming the Raw Women's Champion. Why shouldn't she be? She's probably the best one on there on Monday Night Raw. Outside of a Sasha Banks. Let's do it. If it gets us Asuka Ember Moon when we get to that Raw vs. SmackDown Survivor Series, I'm all for that, man. I'm all for that. Charlotte doesn't need the championship. WWE has plans for Charlotte. So if we get Asuka Charlotte at SummerSlam with Asuka getting a revenge on Charlotte, that would be great. Asuka deserves a victory over Charlotte. Charlotte did the job at WrestleMania. Asuka should get her revenge at SummerSlam. And there's no bigger match on SmackDown's side for the second biggest pay-per-view of the year. Have Asuka win. Have Asuka get this momentum underneath her that we should have seen, that should have never ended. And then have her go into Survivor Series against a formidable opponent, someone who she's familiar with, someone who I would love to see after their last match at TakeOver. That was the best women's match of the year. Asuka versus Ember Moon. Let's do it. WWE has some special moments that they could do with the women on both brands. Will they do it? Probably not. But I'm hoping for the best going into Money in the Bank. So Mandy Rose looking good over Asuka in a weakened state, you know, really didn't bother me so much last night. At least Mandy Rose got some offense in. At least Asuka won in a very believable fashion. Mandy Rose is an amateur. She got caught in the Asuka lock. Tapped easily. 1, 2, 3. It's not like Mandy Rose was overly dominating. Asuka was already beaten up before the match. That's the reason for that. And people didn't seem to understand that on social media. We had this dance-off between Lana and Naomi. And again, I mean, there's no talking points for this show. There really is no talking points for this show. We had this dance-off between Lana and Naomi. Now, was it entertaining? I wouldn't say it was entertaining. Was it necessary is the better question, probably. Was it necessary? No, it was not necessary. But I'd much rather watch Lana and Naomi dance off in skimpy outfits than watch fucking Bobby Trashley, you know, beat up 3 men dressed in drag. At least it wasn't cringe like we seen with that on Monday Night Raw. But was it necessary? No. It was only a mere setup for what we're getting next week. It was, I guess, a way to get 2 women who are in the Money in the Bank ladder match confrontation between each other. Both of them have background in dancing. Oh, let's expose that and let's showcase that on SmackDown Live. It was unnecessary. WWE should be building up competition between the women in Money in the Bank on SmackDown Live, like they're doing next week. Charlotte and Becky are going one-on-one. Why didn't we have a wrestling aspect to this? Why do we need a dance-off going into Money in the Bank? A dance-off is not going to get me excited to see Naomi and Lana inside Money in the Bank. It's not. This was done merely to set up something for next week. So now we got Naomi and her husband versus Aiden English and Lana. I didn't know we were getting the Mixed Match Challenge again on SmackDown Live. You know? Completely unnecessary. And I find it very difficult to believe that this is the best that SmackDown Creative has for the Usos. This is the best you got for Jimmy and Jey Uso, who have been the best tag team in your entire company on the main roster for at least a year and a half since they turned heel. This is the best you got for them. It boggles my mind how you don't have anything for the Usos. Unreal. Absolutely unreal. Other than that, believe it or not, there was nothing else on SmackDown Live. Nothing else storyline-wise on SmackDown Live. Those were the biggest things that I took away from SmackDown Live. Now, we did get Nakamura and Styles. Nakamura, believe it or not, was in a match with Ty Dillinger. Ty Dillinger, yes, on SmackDown Live. It was great to see Ty Dillinger on SmackDown Live. It was great to see the entrance. They didn't even give him a jobber entrance. They let him do the entire entrance. He's got a new haircut. Ty Dillinger's looking good, man. I don't know why they don't push Ty Dillinger on SmackDown Live. When I look at Ty Dillinger, I see a solid mid-card guy. You know? I see, not a Daniel Bryan-like guy per se, but I see a guy that the fans could rally behind and want to rally behind very easily. And the fact that he has not been utilized on SmackDown Live is quite sad. Because a guy like Ty Dillinger could find himself on that show every single week, and people would want to see him. And I would not get tired of him. We have been without Ty Dillinger for so long. So find a spot for him. They found a spot for him in a decent match with Shinsuke Nakamura last night. And I feel the only reason why they used Ty Dillinger in this spot is for the lamest reason possible. Nakamura has been counting down from, or counting up to 10 ever since he announced this last man standing match with AJ Styles at Money in the Bank. And the reason why they booked him with the perfect 10 is because it kind of coincides with Nakamura counting up to 10 and him proclaiming that he's going to knock out, need to face AJ Styles, and he's not going to make the 10 count. So they figured, let's put him in the match on SmackDown Live with the perfect 10. You know? It's kind of lame that Ty Dillinger is only being used as a novelty because of a coincidence that Nakamura is in a last man standing match and he's threatening his opponent is not going to make the 10 count. Are you fucking kidding me? That's the very best you got for Ty Dillinger. This company's laughable, man. It really is laughable. Nakamura and Dillinger was a decent match. We had a 6-man tag that was actually very good, you know. The New Day are very underrated when they want to be, man. They're very underrated. I know a lot of people are tired of their act, but when they, get in the mindset of really stealing the show, the New Day always deliver. And WWE's been playing up this fact that, who's it going to be? Who's it going to be of the New Day? Is it going to be Woods? Is it going to be Kofi? Is it going to be Big E? I am sticking to my guns, man. Big E is the obvious choice. Everybody's saying they should give it to Kofi. I say give it to Xavier. I think Xavier has been the very best of the New Day and has been, the one that has progressed the most in recent months. I would give it to Xavier. I just see that there's a new fire under Xavier Woods for whatever reason, man. He really has been shining bright as a member of the New Day. And I'd love to see Xavier Woods in that match. I'd love to see what Xavier Woods could do against 7 other guys in Money in the Bank with ladders and unpredictability. So I'm going with Xavier Woods. If I'm choosing somebody from the New Day, I'm going with Xavier Woods. I don't know about you guys. But that was that, man. We got some promo time from the club, Gallows and Anderson, and the Bludgeon Brothers. A tag team title match pieced together, like I said last week. Why are the Usos and the club getting a tag team number 1 contenders match? Why? What have they done in the tag team division since being on SmackDown Live that either one of those teams deserve a number 1 contender? The club didn't do anything. What did the club do to get a number 1 contender spot? I mean, the Usos, you could probably make a case for them that they're the best tag team on SmackDown Live, whatever. But the club? And then the club are going against the Bludgeon Brothers in recent weeks, WWE or reports of WWE not really caring about tag team wrestling? You're going to give us a match with two teams that nobody really gives a shit about? A throwaway match on Money in the Bank? I don't expect anything from these two teams. But how did we get here? Why are we here? Why should I care? Why should I be interested in these two teams? There's no story. It's just two teams. Two big bad teams going at it. Who cares? WWE really needs to focus on giving us storyline-driven tag team matches. That's the one thing that's missing. Same thing with the women. It's like the tag team in the women's division, they go hand in hand. There's no story. And if there is a story, it's fucking stupid and illogical. The tag teams don't have anything at all. And I don't know why they're being treated like shit, to be perfectly honest with you. Other than that, man, the entire show was about the main event. The entire show was about the Money in the Bank qualifier. Who is the last guy, the last of the men to qualify for the Money in the Bank? That was pretty much the entire show. And I gave you my thoughts on that. Let's go over the results for the show here. Joe, he continues to impress. I don't need to explain to you how I love Samoa Joe. His promo last night was fucking fantastic. And if there's one guy that I'd love to see hold the WWE Championship, or at least a main title on one of these shows, it is Samoa Joe. It is long overdue. Joe and the work that he does on the microphone is legit, and it makes you believe that this guy can do whatever the fuck he says. That's how good Joe is. And how good of a heel Joe is on the microphone. By how good he is, he's going to make whoever the babyface is that much more over. Because the way Joe speaks and the way Joe delivers his promo, and with the ferocity that Joe has on the microphone and how believable it comes off, he makes him sound like a legitimate, serious threat to whomever the champion is. And in this case, it's AJ Styles. And the way Joe delivers, it's going to want to see people see AJ Styles get over on Joe more so than if you didn't have somebody like Samoa Joe there. I think it's great. Joe pretty much threatens Daniel Bryan. He mentions his family. He gets personal with Daniel Bryan. Then all of a sudden, Big Cass comes out to interrupt, saying that this is not going to happen tonight because he is cleared for in-ring competition.
It is said in biblical text that the ladder represents the connection of the earth to the heavens. It is said that when Jacob looked upon his ladder, angels descended from above, smiling and offering salvation. But my version is very, very different. There is no salvation. There are no smiling angels, although after Money in the Bank, I'll be smiling just like I am right now. Because I will have secured my championship opportunity. I will have ascended up, taken down the Money in the Bank briefcase, and after which I unleash a campaign of anxiety and fear on SmackDown Live and its champion that will shake this place to its very core.
He's such an old school heel,
and
man.
Tonight, I prove to your beloved Daniel Bryan that there are things far worse than forced retirement.
Are you not going to believe anything that comes out of this man's mouth?
In fact, Bryan, if your eco-friendly, tree-hugging sensibilities will allow it, I want you to jump on a cell phone. I want you to call your wife, Bree, and I want you to have her tell your sweet, sweet daughter a story. I want her to tell your daughter that Daddy will be home from Money in the Bank, but he won't be the same man. Hold on, hold on, hold on.
And I love it. Attention to detail, people. Attention to detail. You know, normally when a heel is cutting a promo and then we get an interruption, the music goes off, it fucks up the momentum, right? This is very, very old school. You got the heel berating the babyface or the heel berating his opponent tonight. And all of a sudden, the guy who he's talking about comes out to get his words in. His music goes off. Everybody's cheering, right? Daniel Bryan comes out, and I'm guessing this has to do with the personal nature of the promo that Joe was cutting and the direction of his promo. But Daniel Bryan came out to no music. I love that. We should see that more often everywhere in WWE. I fucking hate when a promo is happening in the ring and we get interruption after interruption after interruption. We see all these theme musics go off. This is the way they did it back when I watched WWE Superstars back on Fox 5 when I was growing up. That's the way it should be. I don't know why they ever went away from that. The theme music is only there for a cheap pop to get the audience involved. But why? Well, what difference does it make if the music goes off or not? It's better when there's no music. I hope that this is I know it's not. If I was booking it, this is the way it would be. Attention to detail. I love the fact that Daniel Bryan did not come out to his theme music to interrupt Samoa Joe. That is it's an art that is not seen anymore. And I absolutely love that.
Lines that you do not cross. And I have a vision of my own, Joe, and it goes like this. You mention my wife or my daughter one more time, and I will break your leg. We don't have to wait. We can fight right now!
The fact of the matter is this. That should be my Money in the Bank opportunity, not yours, Daniel Bryan. This second chance crap has got to stop. I spoke to SmackDown Live General Manager Paige, and this match, Daniel Bryan versus Samoa Joe, will not happen. What will happen is Samoa Joe will take on yours truly, Big Cass, for the final spot in the Money in the Bank ladder match.
Two things I want to mention. Number one, they cut out on WWE's YouTube channel, they cut out the part of Big Cass's promo where he said, and I quote, Daniel Bryan's a shrimp and Samoa Joe is a blimp. I don't understand why someone has to attack Samoa Joe's weight. Like, what difference does it make that Samoa Joe does not look like a 6'6" steroid-injected freak? Seriously, I am tired of the weight jokes. The same thing with Kevin Owens. I'm hearing reports now again. Vince McMahon is frustrated with Kevin Owens. Either lose the weight or lose your spot is what I'm hearing. Why must you attack Samoa Joe's weight? I don't understand it. Samoa Joe is fine the way he looks. Samoa Joe could be the best thing that you have on this show if booked correctly. What difference does it make how he looks? That's a cheap shot thrown in there. Whoever wrote this promo for Big Cass, and it was actually quite disgusting. I hate hearing shit like that. It's just lame. Number two, going back to Joe's promo, you know, I wonder who writes or if Joe has input on his own promos. You know, I don't know if WWE Creative is that smart to write for Samoa Joe, the way he delivers it and the way he just makes it sound and the words that he uses. I'm wondering if Samoa Joe has any input on his promos. That would be one piece of information that I'd love to find out. Because Joe is very good at what he does, and he's one of the best promos in all, if not the best, in all of WWE on the main roster. But those are the two things that I was actually thinking about when I was watching this segment as well.
when I am cleared. Good question. When will I be cleared? I already am cleared.
Medically cleared. Oh! A big cast.
So Big Cass takes his crutch. He swings it at Bryan. Bryan ducks. He hits Joe. Bryan gives him the yes kicks. Irish whip by Cass on Bryan into the ladder that was propped up in the corner because Joe climbed up the ladder and grabbed the briefcase. And Big Cass takes the briefcase and hits Joe with it. And he's standing tall in this segment since he now threw himself into this match, making it a triple threat match in the main event of SmackDown Live. It was a very good opening. I really enjoyed that. And, you know, I hope Big Cass grows on me, man. I think Big Cass still, even after watching last night and after a decent performance in the main event, I still think that he's not ready for that type of position yet. And he's nowhere near being a main event guy. But if WWE is going to continue pushing him, I hope that he gets used to it sooner rather than later. Really. I hope he doesn't get hurt. But like I said in the beginning, you know, Big Cass coming back, it kind of makes things going into Money in the Bank a little worse than what I had originally pitched. But we'll see what happens, man. It's not really official to what Daniel Bryan is doing right now with Money in the Bank. I assume that we will get another Big Cass versus Daniel Bryan match at Money in the Bank, while Joe has already qualified for the men's ladder match. We get a Shinsuke Nakamura versus Ty Dillinger match to open the show, which was very good, man. It was nice to see Ty Dillinger back on SmackDown Live. Shinsuke Nakamura readies for a Kinshasa, hit the Kinshasa, covered Ty Dillinger for the pin. He wins here. Obviously, Nakamura is not even going to come anywhere close to losing, being that he's in a World Championship match against AJ Styles at Money in the Bank. After the match, Nakamura drops Ty Dillinger again with another Kinshasa, and he makes the 10 count on Ty Dillinger, just kind of poking fun at AJ Styles, being that Ty Dillinger was kneed to the face and then again to the back of the head, and he did not make the 10 count. So Nakamura's on this kick where he's counting up to 10, and that's going to be the same fate suffered by AJ Styles. AJ Styles was backstage with Dasha Fuentes. AJ, how do you feel about defending your WWE Championship? Whatever. Dasha's backstage. Dasha bot with AJ Styles asking about what happened with Dillinger out there with Nakamura and the last man standing stipulation. AJ hasn't forgotten about what Nakamura did last week. Something he said snapped in Nakamura at some point. He's not sure what it is. But Nakamura is now more dangerous than he's ever been before. AJ says the stipulation favors Nakamura as a striker, but once again, his challenger is underestimating him. AJ says he fights harder and smarter than the guy who is clearly bigger and stronger than him. He then says Nakamura will try to tear down everything he's built at Money in the Bank, but when it's all said and done, the last man standing will be the phenomenal one. So AJ Styles is pretty confident in his abilities going into the last man standing match. Remains to be seen what WWE does, but they certainly do have an opening for yet another fuck finish at Money in the Bank. We get this dance-off with Lana and Naomi. Things are going okay. Lana goes first. We get some Lana moves. She starts twerking, right? Naomi does whatever she does. She starts bouncing her ass around. Same shit, right? So all of a sudden, they start dancing together. They pair up and they start dancing together. And then all of a sudden, the segment falls apart. Lana attacks Naomi. And then the Usos get involved. The Usos super kick Rusev Day out of the ring. Naomi drops Lana with a rear view. So this was nothing but a setup for next week and a mixed match or a mixed tag team match, reminiscent of the mixed match challenge. And this was completely unnecessary. It didn't sell anything about the Money in the Bank aspect. You know, both women rather dance off with each other than worry about Money in the Bank or get serious about Money in the Bank. Completely unnecessary. But JD, WWE's about entertainment, man. You know, there's a time for entertainment, and then there's a time for no entertainment. You know, these women are vying for a briefcase that guarantees them a championship match. Yet you want to dance off? Come on, bro. You know, a little seriousness. A little seriousness. 6-man tag, The Bar and The Miz, who are very familiar with each other, being that they were partners at TLC against The Shield, versus The New Day. This was a very, very good match, man. Very, very good match. We get the ending here. We get Big E in there with Cesaro. Cesaro blocks the big ending. Miz tags in. Big E tries to spear Cesaro from the apron. Cesaro kicks him, and Miz drops Big E with a DDT in the ring. Woods sends Sheamus to the floor, leaps out, but the Bar catches him, sends him into the barrier. So The Miz then takes a shot at Kofi. Kofi, like a fucking spider monkey, jumps to the top turnbuckle, jumps onto the steel post, and jumps on top of Sheamus and Cesaro, taking them both out. In the ring, Big E gets up from being thrown into the barricade, gets into the ring with The Miz. He goes to the big ending, connects it, pins The Miz, gets revenge from last week where The Miz beat Big E, and he pins The Miz. 1, 2, 3. Very, very good 6-man tag on SmackDown Live. And again, we don't know who's going to be in Money in the Bank as representation for the New Day. I'm going to go with Xavier, man. If I'm picking somebody, I'm going with Mr. Woods. But I think it's probably going to be Big E. As I reported on Off the Script, Big E is set, per rumors, to get a big singles push. And that could be the start of his big singles push by having him be included in Money in the Bank. Renee Young backstage interviews Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson, asking about their title shot from the SmackDown Live Tag Team Champions, the Bludgeon Brothers. They talk about being in the best shape of their career. Luke Gallows compliments Carl Anderson's abs, says that he's the ab machine, and he puts the ab in absolutely ripped, is what he said. And then Carl Anderson goes on and talks about his hot Asian wife and how she also loves his six-pack abs. They admit that they have their work cut out for them, but they are confident that they will beat the Bludgeon Brothers at Money in the Bank. And they go into their whole shtick about calling them nerds, but the Bludgeon Brothers interrupt them on the TV that, is sitting right behind them. They come onto the TV screen, and some weird music starts playing. Bludgeon Brothers are standing there side by side with red light behind them. Harper and Rowan say that they are not prepared for the Bludgeon Brothers at Money in the Bank. Mandy Rose versus Asuka. This was, a decent showcase for Mandy Rose. It was nothing that's going to, wow anybody. But Mandy Rose here had the advantage early on because of Sonya Deville attacking Asuka in the aisleway during her entrance. Asuka wins with the Asuka lock here. They went for a few count-up, a couple of roll-ups. It was countered, and Mandy Rose got a little bit ahead of herself, and she tried to roll up Asuka, but Asuka rolled her up into an Asuka lock, and that was it. There was no way that Mandy Rose was going to survive that. She tapped, and Asuka wins. After the match, Carmella, who was unfortunately sitting on commentary, and we had to listen to her commentate with Corey Graves and the rest of those fucking goons, she came into the ring, and she stared down Asuka as if she's some tough shot. She holds the title up, and Asuka merely just smiles at her. I hope Carmella has her arm broken at Money in the Bank. Really. Not legitimately, but I hope that Asuka taps out not Charlotte. Well, that I hope happens at SummerSlam, but I hope Asuka taps out Carmella at Money in the Bank, because Carmella has no business holding any championship in WWE. Charlotte and Becky Lynch was set up for next week, which is pretty interesting. I thought that would be a big feud. At least we would have seen that for a title on SmackDown Live, but we have not seen it yet. But they're going one-on-one next week as a teaser of sorts for Money in the Bank. Andrade Cien Almas is interrupted. He's walking out of his locker room. We don't need to see him in a wrestling capacity every week, but he's interrupted by Sin Cara. And we get Sin Cara saying that him and Almas go way back. And Zelina Vega comes in and says, whoa. She's not happy at all. She says, who the fuck are you? You're a nobody. You know, why are you talking to my client, she says. She says that Almas is the future of SmackDown. Cara asks Almas if she is serious, and Almas says something back to him in Spanish, which we don't know what he said, nor do I care to know, because, you know, it just happened quick, and he walked away. So it looks like we might get Almas versus Sin Cara next week on SmackDown Live as well. And in the main event, we got Samoa Joe qualifying for the Money in the Bank ladder match, and it ended the exact same way I pitched if this was a one-on-one match with Joe and Bryan. WWE, I don't know if they're listening to me, but it's always nice when I can picture something happening or I say something should happen and we see it play out on television, man. Big Cass looked good. You know, he was dominant in some parts of the match. He got some big moves in on Joe. He got some big moves in on Bryan. Bryan and Joe went at it. It was a nice little teaser for what's to come, possibly with a one-on-one feud between the two. Bryan whips Cass by the leg. He went for the leg, as always, because Cass came back from injury, and, you know, Cass was out, quote-unquote, because of the leg, injured by Bryan. Joe comes from behind, applies the coquina clutch on Bryan, dropping to the mat for a 2 count. Bryan sends Joe over the top rope. Bryan turns around, ducks a big boot from Cass. Bryan tries to take Cass out with the yes lock. Took him forever to apply it because of Big Cass's size. And then, while at the same time that was being applied, Joe was dragging Bryan out from underneath the bottom rope on the outside. Bryan leaps off the apron, drops Joe with a running knee to the floor, takes him out. Bryan slowly gets back into the ring and starts hulking up. Starts doing the yes chant, does the missile dropkick to Big Cass. Bryan starts getting hyped up. Bryan does a kip up. Yes chant's going off. Bryan with the big knee to Cass. Hits that running knee. Goes for the cover, but all of a sudden, Joe, who was taken out just mere moments ago with that flying knee, rushes in. Seeing an opening after that big knee was hit on Big Cass. Applies the coquina clutch out of nowhere. He pulls Bryan off of Big Cass. Chokes him out. Bryan struggling for air. I thought he was legitimately going to tap, but I'm glad they went with Bryan passing out. Joe makes Bryan pass out. Bryan does not tap out at all. Bryan passes out. Joe declared the winner. He goes on to Money in the Bank. After the match, Joe stands tall, and he looks vicious. As vicious as ever, man. He got fucking his tongue hanging out. He's got fucking sweat all over his face. And Joe mocking Bryan as he put Bryan to sleep. After the match, also, Big Cass, being that Bryan is already sleeping, passed out, charges, crazed look on his face. He nails Bryan with a big boot. Cass taunts Bryan and stands over him with his fist in the air as SmackDown Live goes off the air. So it looks like we might be getting Big Cass versus Daniel Bryan. Joe is in Money in the Bank. Gonna be interesting to see what WWE does here, man. I'm sticking by my word as I said in the beginning of this show. Joe is in Money in the Bank. That's the right choice here. I don't think he needs it. I don't think Joe needs to be Mr. Money in the Bank. I think he's a number one contender regardless if he has the briefcase or not. Same thing applies to Strowman. I don't see those types of guys cashing in the briefcase like a Miz would or like an Edge did. I don't see that. Those are the types of moments that we see with Money in the Bank. If Joe or Strowman are going to win the title or a title, it's going to be done the right way. That's why I'm going with The Miz. Bryan, you don't have him booked at Money in the Bank right now. I was hoping for a Bryan Hardy match again for the title. Looks like we might be getting Bryan versus Cass. I could see WWE giving Jeff Hardy. I don't know how they could keep Jeff Hardy off Money in the Bank. I could see them going with the Almas Jeff Hardy route. Or maybe we get Hardy versus Benjamin. Maybe a pre-show match. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. But Money in the Bank is shaping up. You know, Big Cass being back, like I said, you know, it does offer somewhat less of an interesting situation compared to if he was out. But we're going to take it week by week, man. We got a couple weeks left till Money in the Bank, and we'll see what WWE does or the stories that they are trying to tell here with the last couple weeks remaining before we head into Chicago for Money in the Bank. But I don't know what's happening with SmackDown Live, man. SmackDown Live has been putting on decent shows. It hasn't made me feel like a fucking idiot the last 3 weeks. Is Road Dogg even still part of the show? Someone told me that they found out Road Dogg might be booking Monday Night Raw. Depending on what we're seeing on Monday Night Raw as of late, maybe that's fucking the real deal. Maybe Road Dogg is booking Monday Night Raw. Imagine that. I don't know. But SmackDown Live has been pretty decent for the past couple of weeks, man. Hopefully the streak continues. I mean, I don't know how you can't book this show good with guys like Styles, Nakamura, Joe, Bryan, Almas. You know? How could you not book this show to be anything but good every week? Hopefully the streak continues, man. SmackDown Live has been doing decent. Decent to good shows. That's all I ask. I just don't want to feel like a fucking idiot on a week-to-week basis. Like Monday Night Raw makes me feel. Monday Night Raw makes me feel embarrassed. SmackDown Live actually is putting on some decent television. Thank you guys so much, man. Reason why the review wasn't up last night was because I was at House of Glory conducting interviews with some of the wrestlers getting ready for their event next Saturday night. So I was over there conducting some interviews with Evander James, their Crown Jewel champion. And I conducted an interview with Mr. Cashflow, Ken Broadway. A couple of big matches coming up on June 9th for their Temperature Rising event at the NYC Arena, man. Evander James is going to be defending the Crown Jewel Championship against Sami Callihan, man. It's going to be interesting, man. Sami Callihan is one of my favorite independent talents. I enjoyed his work very much in Lucha Underground. He's doing his thing in TNA right now or Impact Wrestling. Going to be interesting to see, man. So House of Glory is doing some big things, man. HOGWrestling.net if you guys are going to be in the New York City area on June 9th, if you guys want to see some great independent wrestling action, and I'll be there calling the action, as always, for House of Glory. Hit that thumbs up. Follow me on Twitter at JDFROMNY206. Hit that subscribe button, man. We got some new subscribers. Thank you for joining the team. That subscribe button down below. Turn on the bell for notifications, and I will see you guys definitely tonight. I'm doing an NXT review tonight for you guys as we head towards TakeOver Chicago #2. Don't know what's happening tonight, but should be a good show as always, because Wednesday is the best night for weekly television on WWE. And no, I did not watch, which I will do tonight. I want to save it for tonight. I want to have a cold beverage, and I want to relax after NXT. I am going to watch that Buddy Murphy, Cedric Alexander match for the Cruiserweight Championship. A lot of you guys said that it was New Japan Pro Wrestling worthy, and they went 20-plus minutes. So I'm definitely going to check that out. A lot of you guys have proclaimed that it's one of the best matches of the year, bar none. So I will definitely check that out. I have not done so yet, but we'll do so later. Thank you guys so much. Hope you enjoyed the review, and I will talk to you later and see you guys later for NXT review right here on the channel. See you guys then.